General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, the 5th, are predicted. Michael's hands were already shaking when Willow leaned close enough for him to smell the faint sweetness of her perfume. The same scent that now made his stomach turn. Her voice was low and steady, nothing like the chaos burning in her eyes. She told him that if he did not agree to her new terms, he would lose everything, his freedom, his name, his future. She said it calmly, almost tenderly, as if she were offering advice instead of a threat. In that moment, Michael understood something terrifying. Willow was not bluffing. She was already several steps ahead, already shaping a reality where Drew was dead, where evidence pointed in only one direction, and where Michael would be the one standing alone in a courtroom, accused of murder he did not commit. This was not how any of it was supposed to unfold. Michael had believed for so long that Willow's moral compass, once so clear and unwavering, would always pull her back from the edge. He had underestimated how far fear and desperation could push a person, and how power, once tasted, could become addictive. Willow had already succeeded once by forcing Alexis into an impossible position, leveraging secrets and pressure until Alexis had no choice but to comply. That success had changed Willow. It had shown her that people could be bent, that rules could be rewritten if you were ruthless enough. Now she was turning that same cold focus on Michael. She told him she had a way to send him to prison. She did not explain every detail because she did not need to. The confidence in her eyes said enough. Michael scoffed at first, disbelief rising as a shield. He said she could not possibly make something like that stick. He reminded her of lawyers, of resources, of the truth. Willow listened patiently, then smiled in a way that made his blood run cold. She told him that believing and surviving were two very different things. Innocent people went to prison every day. All it took was the right story and the right evidence placed in the right hands. As Willow stepped back, she brushed against him, her hand slipping briefly toward the pocket of his jacket. The movement was subtle, almost intimate, and Michael was too focused on his own racing thoughts to register it fully. He did not see Rick watching from across the room, his sharp eyes narrowing as he caught that small, suspicious gesture. Rick had learned long ago that the truth often revealed itself in moments others dismissed as meaningless. Something about Willow's timing, her proximity, and the way Michael stiffened set off a quiet alarm in his mind. Rick moved closer, not confronting them directly, but positioning himself near enough to hear raised voices when the argument escalated. Michael's anger finally broke through his shock. He accused Willow of losing herself, of crossing a line she could never come back from. Willow fired back that he had no idea what it took to survive in a world where everyone eventually betrayed you. Their words cut deeper with each exchange, drawing the attention of anyone nearby. Rick watched carefully, his gaze flicking from Willow's face to Michael's jacket pocket. He wondered if she had slipped something inside. A key, a flash drive, a piece of evidence that could later be discovered at just the wrong moment. Yet, Rick also knew how meticulous Willow could be when she set her mind to something. If she had planted evidence, she would have done it in a way that left no trace of her involvement. That uncertainty frustrated him. He could not accuse her without proof, and he could not warn Michael without sounding paranoid. So instead he stepped closer under the guise of concern, placing himself at Michael's side, his presence a silent signal that someone else was paying attention. While tension coiled tightly around Michael and Willow, another storm was quietly forming elsewhere. Laura was grappling with a revelation that unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. She had learned that her daughter Lulu was in love with Nathan. On the surface, it might have seemed like a simple matter of the heart, but Laura knew the history tangled beneath it. Maxie, Lulu's closest friend, was still fighting her way back from the brink, showing faint but hopeful signs of waking. Nathan was Maxie's ex-husband, and the emotional fallout of that connection had the potential to shatter fragile bonds. Laura's worry was not rooted in judgment, but in fear. She had seen too many friendships destroyed by love triangles that no one intended to create. She knew Lulu's heart was sincere, and she also knew Maxie's pain ran deep, even in unconsciousness. The idea that Maxie might wake to find her best friend entwined with a man who once meant everything to her felt cruel in its timing. Laura struggled with whether to intervene or trust that her daughter would navigate the situation with compassion. Either choice carried consequences, and the weight of them pressed heavily on her. Maxie herself remained unaware of the emotional ripples her condition was causing, but there were signs that her fight was not over. Subtle movements, changes in breathing, Moments that hinted at awareness stirred cautious hope among those who loved her. No one felt that hope more fiercely than Spinelli. To him, Maxie had always been the center of his world, the one person who could ground his eccentric brilliance with warmth and humor. The possibility that she might wake filled him with a nervous energy he could barely contain. Spinelli threw himself into work as a way to cope, burying his fear and anticipation beneath layers of code and strategy. His skills were in high demand, and not just because of Maxie. Jason sought him out with a request that carried significant risk. There was a castle owned by Sidwell, a place wrapped in secrets and guarded by layers of security. Jason believed that something crucial was hidden there, something tied to both Sonny's growing suspicions and Anna's mysterious disappearance. Spinelli listened intently as Jason explained what he needed: access to security cameras, floor plans, blind spots. Spinelli's fingers itched at the challenge. This was what he did best, slipping through digital barriers unseen. He knew the stakes were high, that getting caught could put all of them in danger. Still, he agreed without hesitation. For Spinelli, helping Jason and Sonny was not just about loyalty. It was about proving that he could make a difference, that his mind was a weapon as powerful as any gun. As Spinelli worked, Sonny gathered his own people, quietly assembling a team capable of moving against Sidwell without drawing attention. Sonny had learned the truth about Dalton's death through Britt, and that truth pointed directly at Sidwell. The knowledge simmered in him, a controlled fury, waiting for the right moment to explode. Taking down Sidwell was not just about revenge, it was about removing a threat that had already claimed too many lives. At the same time, Felicia was following a trail that led her somewhere she never expected to go. She had been searching for Anna, driven by a gut feeling that something was deeply wrong. When she finally found her, the sight brought Felicia to tears. Anna was alive, but she was not herself. Her eyes darted with paranoia, her words fractured and obsessive. She spoke of Faison as if he were still present, still haunting her, and it was clear that the trauma of being held unlawfully had fractured her sense of reality. Felicia felt a crushing mix of relief and guilt. Relief that Anna was alive, guilt that she had suffered alone for so long. She recognized the signs of severe psychological strain, the kind that did not fade just because physical chains were removed. With the help of Emma and Mac, Felicia tried to ground Anna to bring her back to the present, but Anna's mind kept circling the same dark memories, unable to let go. Mac faced a painful question alongside Felicia. If Anna truly believed she was still entangled with Faison, if she could not distinguish memory from reality, then was she a danger to herself? The idea of committing Anna to a mental institution felt like another betrayal, another loss of freedom, yet doing nothing could be even more harmful. They debated in hushed voices, torn between protecting Anna's dignity and ensuring her safety. What Felicia did not know at first was that Spinelli's digital digging was about to intersect with her search in a critical way. As he accessed the castle's security network, he noticed irregularities, hidden rooms, areas where camera feeds looped suspiciously. One location stood out, matching fragments of information Jason had shared. Spinelli realized with a jolt that Anna might be there, hidden in plain sight within Sidwell's fortress. That discovery changed everything. Felicia's search suddenly had a direction, and Sonny's planned move against Sidwell gained new urgency. Saving Anna was no longer a possibility. It was a mission. Back in Port Charles, the tension between Willow and Michael continued to simmer, unseen but no less dangerous. Willow refined her plan with chill and precision. She considered every angle, every weakness. Drew's death would be the centerpiece of her scheme, a tragedy she would reshape into a weapon. She knew how Michael would react, what he would say, how his grief and anger could be twisted into motive. She believed she was strong enough now to carry this through, strong enough to live with the consequences. Rick watched her from a distance, his suspicions growing heavier. He could not yet prove what she was capable of, but he felt it in his bones. He resolved to stay close to Michael, to watch for the moment when doubt became certainty. In a town where lies often wore the mask of love, vigilance was the only defense. Everywhere, lives were inching toward collision. Love threatened friendship. Power threatened morality. Loyalty demanded impossible choices. Beneath it all, a sense of impending reckoning spread like a slow-moving shadow, promising that the actions taken now would soon demand a price far greater than anyone expected. Michael barely slept that night, every sound in the house twisting into something threatening. Willow's words replayed over and over in his mind. not as a single sentence, but as a steady pressure that refused to loosen. He kept touching the pocket of the jacket he had tossed over a chair, an irrational impulse that grew stronger the more he tried to ignore it. When he finally checked, his fingers closed around something that did not belong to him. A small object, cold and unfamiliar, sat heavy in his palm. For a moment he simply stared at it, his heart pounding as realization crept in. Willow had done it. She had planted something on him, and she had done it so cleanly that he had not noticed until it was too late. Panic surged, followed quickly by anger. Michael told himself to think, to slow down, to remember that reacting emotionally was exactly what Willow wanted. He put the object back where it was, knowing that removing it now could look even worse. Instead, he reached for his phone and hesitated before calling Rick. Trust did not come easily anymore, but Rick was one of the few people who might understand the danger without dismissing it. When Rick answered, Michael did not explain everything. He simply said he needed help and that it was urgent. Rick arrived with a calm that bordered on unsettling. He listened as Michael described the confrontation with Willow, the threat, the discovery. Rick examined the object carefully, his expression tightening. He said it was bad, but not hopeless. Evidence could be challenged, motives could be questioned, but timing mattered, and Willow was clearly controlling the clock. Rick admitted that he had seen Willow slip her hand toward Michael's pocket earlier. He cursed himself for not acting then, but hindsight did nothing to change the present. They agreed on one thing. Willow had escalated beyond manipulation. She was actively constructing a crime, and Drew's death was no longer just a tragedy. It was a trap. Rick warned Michael not to confront Willow again, not until they understood the full scope of her plan. Michael nodded, though every instinct in him screamed to demand answers, to force Willow to look him in the eye and admit what she was doing. Elsewhere, Willow was already moving forward. She felt a strange sense of calm as she reviewed the steps she had set in motion. For weeks, she had been preparing herself mentally, justifying each choice as necessary. She told herself that Michael would survive prison, that deals could be made, sentences reduced. What mattered was control. What mattered was ensuring that no one could ever corner her again. When doubt flickered, she smothered it with logic and resolve. She reminded herself of Alexis bending under pressure, of how easy it had been once the leverage was clear. People were predictable when you understood their fears. At the hospital, Laura sat beside Maxie's bed, watching for any sign of movement. The machines hummed softly, a fragile barrier between life and loss. Lulu stood nearby, her emotions a tangled knot she could barely untangle herself. Laura finally spoke the truth she had been holding back. She told Lulu she knew about Nathan. Lulu did not deny it. She confessed everything, her voice shaking as she admitted she had not planned for this, that it had grown slowly and painfully, rooted in shared concern and unexpected understanding. Laura listened without interrupting, her heart aching for both her daughter and Maxie. She urged Lulu to think carefully, not about what felt right in the moment, but about what would remain when Maxie woke up. Because Laura believed Maxie would wake. She could feel it, the same way she had felt storms coming long before clouds appeared. Lulu promised she would not act on her feelings, not now, not while Maxie was still fighting. The promise brought little comfort, but it was something. Spinelli received a call from Jason late at night. The final pieces were in place. Spinelli had mapped the castle's security system down to its weakest points. He had discovered hidden corridors and a secured lower level that matched the location Felicia had described from fragmented clues Anna had muttered. Spinelli's voice trembled with excitement and fear as he explained it all. This was bigger than a hack. This was a rescue, and possibly a war. Sonny listened as Jason relayed the information. His jaw tightened when Anna's condition was mentioned. Sonny blamed Sidwell not just for Dalton's death, but for every ounce of suffering that had followed. He gave the order. They would move before dawn. The goal was simple in theory. Get in, get Anna out, make Sidwell answer for what he had done. But Sonny knew nothing ever went according to plan. Felicia sat with Anna, holding her hand as Anna drifted in and out of coherence. When Felicia told her they were going to leave, Anna's eyes widened in fear. She whispered that Faison would not let her go, that he was always watching. Felicia fought back tears and promised that Faison was gone, that she was safe now. Whether Anna believed her or not was impossible to tell. The infiltration of the castle was swift and quiet at first. Spinelli guided Jason and Sonny through earpieces, his fingers flying across keyboards as he looped cameras and disabled alarms. Brick provided backup, monitoring external signals for any sign of trouble. For a brief window of time, everything worked. They moved like shadows through halls built to intimidate and conceal. Then something went wrong. Sidwell had anticipated an attack, even if he had not known when it would come. A silent alarm tripped, one Spinelli had not detected. Guards converged, and the element of surprise evaporated. Jason reacted instantly, clearing a path with ruthless efficiency. Sonny followed, his focus narrowed to a single objective. They found Anna in a locked room deep within the castle. She recoiled at first, screaming when the door opened, her terror cutting through everyone present. Felicia rushed forward, her voice the only thing that seemed to reach Anna. Slowly, painfully, Anna recognized her. The relief on Felicia's face was overwhelming. They did not linger. With guards closing in, they had to move. Sidwell confronted them in the main hall, fury blazing in his eyes. He accused Sonny of trespass, of waging a personal vendetta under the guise of justice. Sonny did not deny it. He accused Sidwell of murder, of imprisonment, of destroying lives for power. The tension crackled, a lifetime of choices distilled into one volatile moment. When Sidwell reached for his weapon, Jason fired. Sidwell fell, the echo of the gunshot ringing through the castle. The escape was chaotic but successful. By the time authorities arrived, Sidwell was dead and Anna was gone. Sonny knew the fallout would be severe, but he also knew some lines could not be uncrossed. He had chosen his side. Back in Port Charles, news of Sidwell's death spread quickly. It reached Willow as she watched Michael from across the room, noting the strain on his face. She wondered briefly if she had underestimated him, if he was closer to unraveling her plan than she realized. The thought irritated her. She pushed it aside and focused on the next step. Drew's death would soon be officially reopened. Anonymous tips would surface. Evidence would be found. Michael's name would rise to the top. But Willow had made one mistake. She had underestimated Rick's patience. Rick had been quietly digging, retracing Willow's steps, examining timelines, questioning small inconsistencies no one else cared about. He found a gap in Willow's alibi, a sliver of time she could not account for. He found a witness who remembered seeing her near Drew's place when she claimed to be elsewhere. Piece by piece, the narrative Willow had built began to crack. Michael was arrested before Rick could stop it. The moment the cuffs closed around his wrist felt unreal. Willow watched with carefully controlled horror, playing her role flawlessly. Inside, a cold satisfaction spread. She told herself it was necessary. She told herself she would fix it later. She told herself many things. The trial was brutal. Michael sat through testimony that twisted his grief into motive, his anger into intent. The planted evidence took center stage. Willow testified with tears in her eyes, her words painting Michael as unstable, unpredictable. Rick watched her closely, committing every inflection to memory. Then Rick made his move. He presented the witness. He presented the timeline. He revealed the planted object and traced its origin back to Willow. The courtroom shifted, murmurs rippling through the crowd. Willow's composure faltered for the first time. She denied everything, her voice sharp with desperation now. But the cracks widened and the truth poured through. When the verdict came, it was not Michael who was led away. Willow collapsed as the weight of her actions finally crashed down on her. The power she had chased vanished, leaving only the wreckage behind. In the aftermath, Michael stood free but changed. Trust would not come easily again. Rick walked away knowing he had done the right thing, though the cost had been high for everyone involved. Laura held Maxie's hand as Maxie finally opened her eyes, the room filling with tears and quiet joy. Lulu stepped back, her promise honored, her heart heavy but clear. Anna began a long road toward healing, surrounded by friends who refused to give up on her. Felicia stayed by her side, unwavering. Sonny faced consequences, but he accepted them without regret. Some battles were worth the price. And in the end, Port Charles breathed again, scarred but standing, a place where love and betrayal, power and redemption continued their endless dance, shaping lives one choice at a time.